Hey, come check out You Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Come with me as I attempt to find clarity in all the fog while staying way outside the box and kicking the box way down the road with my size 12 ducks. I use the Bible, experience, education, fortune, misfortune, life's lessons, life's mistakes to sort through all the mess. I talk about news, God, God, self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Hopefully, anyway. Also, I take a stab at answering tough and not so tough questions, and all the while understand that, listen, sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, Torontonians will understand that Doug Ford reference there. Hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere. Hope to see you soon. And we're on the air. What's up, y'all? This is MCM, and you're listening to You Probably Right podcast. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Only. Now remember, this podcast is not a Christian podcast, but it is a podcast by Christians. So, therefore, most of the stand viewpoints would be that of a Christian. But the reason why I say it's not a Christian podcast is because I don't base everything on theology, Christianity, and the Bible. It's just me thinking in most cases. So the reason why I put that out there right away, not to scare off any Christians or otherwise, is just to let you know that I'm not an individual who, of course, you can trust what I'm saying, but you can't trust. In other words, you need to go to the Bible for actual biblical information or be a part of a Bible-believing church, a church that believes in the 66 books of the Bible. So anyway, moving on from that, I will read you a little spiel that I wrote, but it's kind of funny. I'm going to read you this and I'm going to make mistakes, and guess what? There was a time when I didn't think it was so great because my reading skills aren't that great, blame it on me, blame it on whatever, education, but blame it on me. Maybe I just didn't practice that much to be reading out loud to people. And not to mention, it's a one-take thing, so there's that part of it, if you know what I mean. I'm also an introvert, so knowing that many people could potentially be listening to this kind of adds a little twist to everything, if you understand what I mean. Well, those of you who are introverts probably understand what I mean. So, sit down, bust open a can of your favorite beverage. Mine these days is, Coke Zero. Anyway. So, artificial voices, authentic concerns, the impact of AI on YouTube creativity. And I'm guessing it's not just YouTube creativity. They're doing it, or people are doing it. Well, maybe not people. It's being done on more than just YouTube these days. So I'm assuming it's on every other platform, Instagram, X, whatever we call these things these days. It's so nice to have an evergreen podcast. You just never know when this thing is going to make sense to someone. But I mean, I guess everything evergreen can eventually be outdated as well and chopped down. Speaking of which, as that I'm not now, but Spotify has changed their policies a little bit. They've also fired a bunch of people, but that was a little bit back in history. But also, you used to be able to edit, record, add music and all these things on Spotify for podcasters, which was at one time just called Anchor. And then Spotify, because they're the parent company, kind of switched it. And then they also switched it where after that is that they didn't want to keep offering editing and recording and all that stuff on their actual platform. And my feeling on that is it's probably they needed to weed people out, because podcasts have become real popular. People have figured out different ways to make money doing a podcast, and they've also figured out ways not to do the podcast themselves. So therefore, it is totally inundated with podcasts that are being made, and human ones like mine are kind of being shoved off to the side and being buried by all of the AI made content, which is sad, because if you think about it, these podcasts, videos, clips, shorts, whatever, are all being made for people. It's not like AI is making videos for AI to listen to. Unless, of course, you're trying to summarize a podcast or something, then I guess you'd have AI listen to it and summarize it, and then I guess reproduce it. It's just ridiculous. It kind of makes me sick. So hopefully you're going to get that from this little spiel I'm about to read off here, and then I'm going to answer a couple questions. Hopefully this will be a shorter podcast, but no promises. I'm already at 5 minutes, so I've been rambling on time. So, welcome to today's episode of You're Probably Right. I'm your host, MCM, and today we're diving into a topic that's been on my mind a lot lately. And this was honestly a lot on my mind since the creation of ChatGPT 4.0. I think it's called ChatGPT 4.0. I can't remember. But yeah, the rise of AI narration on YouTube and how it's reshaping our viewing experience, I guess you could say. And yes, this is a human voice. This is my voice. Yeah. You never know. I'm telling you, listener, as you're listening to me now, it's like, really listen and try to figure out, is this a human talking or is it AI? Because I'm telling you, for me, it's annoying. It just something creepy about it. And I'll probably go into it a little bit more than I have so far. Now, I know some of you might be chuckling, thinking, who even cares about who narrates or who's narrating a video? But stick with me, because there's more to this than meets the eye, kind of like Transformers, or Air in this case, because my videos are my podcast is only audio, which I'm sure that's also another thing that kind of got phased out. Unless, of course, you're driving a car. If you're driving or you're cutting the lawn, these things that you can't be plopped and sat down in front of a screen, that's basically what my podcast is. My podcast is for people who are cutting the grass, going on a long drive, driving home from wherever, maybe having a conversation in a car. The old-time radio listeners that would listen to a radio show and didn't need to have a screen in front of you. That's what my podcast really is for. I don't expect anybody to be sitting in front of a screen. That's why I don't even make a video form, for at least today, of my podcast, because I like the idea of the intimacy of just somebody talking in your ear, almost like you're just talking on a phone. I know that's another unheard of things these days. Everybody wants to text 50 messages instead of just saying what they have to say in a 2-minute message or a conversation, but whatever. AI narration. I'm telling you, it's gonna be a good thing. When you hear this one day, you're gonna be like, oh, cool, it is a human. He's making so many mistakes and he's not perfect. I'm telling you, it makes a difference for me. AI narration has proliferated across YouTube, and it's becoming increasingly sophisticated Sometimes it's so well done that it can fool even native English speakers into thinking that they're listening to a human. But here's where it gets interesting. One telltale sign that you're listening to AI is how it pronounces names. And for instance, I was listening to a video earlier today and it kept saying Captain Hook. And I was like, why is it saying Captain Hook? Just to realize that the thing was trying to say Captain Hook, but of course it was pronouncing Hook as in hook. And that kind of kept throwing me off. And it does that every once in a while. But of course, I guess if you're living, or not living, if you're listening to English and English isn't your first language, it might not bother you so much. But I'm sure other people in other languages from different places across the world notice this when people try to do AI videos or narration in their language. Despite all the advancements, AI still stumbles over names. And this can be one of the few giveaways in otherwise flawless performance. Now, I know that there is an easy way to fix this, but of course, because people are generating these videos at such a high rate that they're probably not going to turn around and just spell the word differently. Because I'm telling you, they're just getting things typed out by AI and then read out by AI. They don't actually have time to actually proofread it, so it sounds natural and human. That's what I'm figuring. So if you can read between the lines of what I just said, then you could probably fix that. You who do these things. Now think back to the days when National Geographic crafted intricate narratives about nature, even attempting to delve into thought processes of animals, remembering how those stories captivated us. Us who used to watch those things, we'd listen about Kinky Tail and Mr. T, the lion, and all this stuff in Africa, and it was so captivating. If you look at any of those videos nowadays, you'll notice a big difference, and a lot of them have been, I guess, copyrighted and pulled right off of YouTube, which is sad, but I guess good for those who actually originally made the content. They were a blend of storytelling, artistry, and factual information. But today, we see AI attempting to mimic these style videos, where the visuals don't quite match. The narrative, it's like watching a magic trick after, remember Penn and Teller? When they were revealing the secrets, something just doesn't click anymore. For me personally, anyway. If I click on a video and I hear that a familiar monotone AI narration, now I know they're fixing the AI narration. Here's a joke for you. Because my background is Jamaican, part of my background is Jamaican, I decided when they came out with ChatGPT 4.0. Now, is it ChatGPT 4.0? Let me just make sure, because I keep saying this thing, and it's kind of bugging me. These kind of things kind of get under my skin when I say these things, and I'm not sure I'm saying them right. Let's see if I can find it. What's it called? The real name. I mean, I'm doing this, but you already know. Yeah, ChatGPT 4.0. Yeah, ChatGPT 4.0. And I mean, who knows where we are at this as you're listening to this thing. Where am I? I'm reading and I'm talking and I'm saying stuff in between what I'm reading, guys, because I don't like to just read off a copy, even though it's my copy. Weird, right? Let me just go back. For me personally, if I click on a video and hear that familiar monotone of an AI narration, I'm out. It's an instant turn off. This isn't just about nostalgia for human touch in storytelling. It's about authenticity. The essence of a video loses its luster when it feels like the creator just punched a few keywords into an AI and let it do all the heavy lifting. That's not creation. That's assembly. And if those of you who know anything about movies from the 80s and remember Johnny Five is still alive. I can't remember what the movie was called, but the robot's name was Johnny Five. And he'd always say, "No, disassemble." And it was kind of cool. I actually had a friend who was in the second in one of those movies. What was it called again? Short Circuit. Yeah. Anyhow. And here's the rub. As AI tools like ChatGPT and probably Gemini and whatever else is out there now become more advanced, creators are using them not just for generating text, but for simulating human-like errors, I'm sure. Yes, human-like errors. And pause in speech, trying to blur the lines even more between human and machine. It's a fascinating evolution, but one that poses questions. Are we sacrificing authenticity for efficiency? And who's getting buried while we're doing this? This trend affects more than just our preferences. It impacts, and don't get me started about the preferences and our histories and all that stuff that's being locked up in a cloud somewhere. It's really getting messy. I literally have to clear my YouTube search, my YouTube history once a month just so they'll stop throwing the same things down my throat, a la TikTok style. Because what they've figured out is whatever you click on, whatever you ask for, they're giving you more of what you're asking for, more of what you're spending time on, and just stuffing it down your throat, which makes you sit there longer because before, there used to be breaks in everything. In this algorithm, there used to be 2 videos you wanted to see, and then all of a sudden there'd be a video that you didn't want anything to do with, which would give you a moment of clarity to say, I think I've spent enough time on YouTube or Instagram or X or whatever you're on. But the way that they're doing it now is they don't want you to stop. They just want you to click and watch. Click, 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 watch, watch, watch. It impacts real people, their lives, their relationships, the time that they spend, exercise. It's going to affect so many things. And that's why I'm making this YouTube video. This is why I'm making this podcast. Sorry, guys, I have a YouTube channel too. But that's why I'm making this podcast, because I'm hoping that somebody's going to listen to what I'm saying and really think about it. Now, obviously, it's not going to be the creators of ChatGPT or YouTube, but maybe they'll be just you. Sitting there, maybe on your riding lawnmower, or just on a long drive across the country, or across the city, or on your way to work, or stuck in traffic, or washing the dishes, or doing the laundry, cutting the lawn, shoveling the snow, rocking the baby to sleep, having a conversation with your group, just you. This is what I want people who are like me, or maybe not so much, to really take in what I'm saying, because someone is changing the way we live. And it's those who are slowly allowing AI to be more and more involved in our lives. And the first sign I always had, and many people have heard this before, where things were going wrong with the fact that artificial intelligence, the word demon or daimon in, I think it's Greek, is intelligence. And artificial intelligence, just those two things being connected in any way, is a little freaky for me as a Christian. And it should be if you are or if you're not. Because what are we giving our lives, our time, our minds to when we are creating, listening to things that are created by AI, advancing learning tools by AI? It's even funny about ChatGPT 4.0, where it seems to be working better than the ChatGPT 4 that people are actually paying for. Except maybe you might be able to ask more questions. I think that's about the only difference right now. And those who pay can go back and forth between the two. So as I was saying, it impacts real people. Genuine creators who pour their hearts into their content and spend time. When AI can just churn out videos in the masses, it dilutes the value of original content, making it harder for true creators to stand out. As a matter of fact, not only do you not stand out, you get buried. To tell you the truth, you're lucky if you're even listening to this right now, because the chances are, because of the topics, because of whatever I'm putting in the description, it's probably being buried, to tell you the truth. And that's why I call to you, my friend, my individual, my listener, to share this podcast episode with a friend or someone you care about. And hopefully they'll understand. Maybe something clicks with you. And you're like, you know what? I think Johnny or Susie needs to listen to this podcast. Maybe your kids do. It's kind of like when I made that episode about where are your physical copies? I think that's what I called it. Whereas, like, I'm a person who owns over 200 to 300 DVDs and Blu-rays and MP3s, whatever, not MP3s, Blu-rays and DVDs, movies. I do not subscribe to Netflix or any of those other things. I literally watch those things because I have, of course, have family members who subscribe to those things, and I'll watch them. But I always know that I have my personal physical copies at hand in case. I don't like the fact that our money is on a card somewhere that can be lost and can be shut off at a bank somewhere. Our movies are on somebody's website that they can change the price at any time, or they can go down, or they can go out of business. It's kind of even bothering me, the fact that I have my podcast being brought to you by what I want to call it, a platform, and they change their rules, how often you need to check in. They change what you can do on the website. As I was saying, they're stopping the editing, the enhancing and everything on Spotify for podcasters, and who knows how long that is even going to be there. But now think about it. At this time, as I'm speaking to you, I have 145 episodes that are from 30 minutes to an hour. Anywhere between those, 145 of those, they can just change a rule and take me off. And then all of that time that I spent on all of those podcasts are gone. Poof. They're saying you can download anything that you want from your library. It's 145. Like, who has time for that? It's crazy. And I think the reason why they're doing it is because, first of all, the company went down a little bit in profitability. And also because there's so many podcasts, they don't have to pander and cater to the average podcast creator anymore. Do you understand where I'm going with this? In a sea of AI-generated voices, the unique timbre of human creativity is becoming harder to discern. So where does this leave us? Skeptical, a bit nostalgic, and facing an evolving landscape of digital content. As viewers and creators, we're at the crossroads right now. And while you're listening to this, you might have already crossed over. The question is, what fork in the road are you going down? Or what line of the fork in the road are you going down? Deciding what we value more, the convenience of AI or the irreplaceable quality of human touch. And that's in more than one way. And some of you know exactly what I mean. Let's open up the floor and see what you think. Here are some questions that might stir your thoughts or challenge your views. Now, I have not listened to these questions before, or I have not read these questions before. It might be better. So it's just 6 questions. I'm going to do my best to answer them. I may not do such a great job at answering them, but the good thing is they're questions that you may want to try and answer for yourself. There are we. 23 minutes of me talking. Seems like it's just giving me another average video. Hope not. Let's see if I can get through them quickly. Okay. Do you think AI narration detracts from authenticity of videos? Or is it just a new tool in digital creators kit? You know what? For those who have learning disabilities, those who really want to make stuff, or maybe like say like I live in Canada, maybe you're new to the country, you don't speak English, but you have many ideas that you want to get out. Now, I'm not saying I don't see anything wrong with fumbling around in your own language and maybe having subtitles, or maybe using AI, but not when you're just churning them out, because it's throwing. Okay, I understand that some people don't speak English very well. I understand people don't read English very well or pronounce the words and all those other things. And just speaking from a Canadian aspect or a North American aspect, if you want, I don't know, just English speaking aspect. How about that? It's just a foggy line. I don't think it is just another tool in the digital creators kit, because some people are taking advantage. There's many people who haven't learned the language, know nothing about the society, and they're sitting here churning out videos on behalf of someone, say, kind of like they're in the society, but they're not in the society, and Lord knows where they're from and what their intent is. But the issue is, many people like me who are creating stuff and taking the time, sitting down in front of the computer or whatever it is, or in front of their piece of paper that they've handwritten, and they're trying to do their videos, they're trying to narrate whatever it is, and then somebody, while they finished doing one video, somebody's just churned out 7. And not to mention they've churned out 7, but your video will have 3,000 views and theirs will have 70,000 views in 2 days. You're competing against something that you can't beat. That's the issue. I'm competing against something that I can't beat. The only thing is they can't beat a human voice. And obviously they're going to get better. So who knows when we will truly be obsolete in this fashion. Jobs are being lost this way. So why not video and content creation? Have you ever been fooled by AI narration? What gave it away? Yeah, I explained it already. The main thing that's given it away is the pronunciation of certain words. Unless somebody's going to go back over all of the words. Like, the thing is, it's the information is narrated. And if it's in the middle of a paragraph, how are you going to fix it? I'm sure there's tools. You'll be able to go back and probably highlight over a word that the AI spoke wrong, and you could probably just spell it differently so the pronunciation comes out correct. But I've been fooled more in past than now. Now it's like totally irritating. It's kind of like getting ChatGPT to just write stuff for you without putting your human touch anywhere on it in any way and just filing it out. Someone who actually reads books, reads the Bible, or just knows how a person would say something. Or you constantly see words like journey or travel down. Like, there's certain ways that you can tell that things are being given to you by AI and not by a human, or at least one that thinks. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but whatever. So yes, I have been fooled, but yeah, usually names give it away. Generally, there'll be something, or there'll be lack of emotion where you'd normally have emotion, something like that. There's different ways, and I guess I can't go into every which way I know, because I'd like to keep some of that, because there's somebody sitting right now in a dark basement in their mom's house figuring out how to make it sound more human. Make it human sounding. What do you think about the use of AI to simulate human-like speech errors? Well, this is something that I was talking about. I don't like it, but I'm sure somebody's doing it right now as I speak. Is it clever or deceptive? It's definitely deceptive. It's not really clever. It's just tricky. I don't call that clever. It's just deceptive. If you want to make something with human errors, speech errors, then make it yourself. How do you feel about the impact of AI on independent content creators? Well, as I was saying, there's many of us that are being buried in the algorithm and our stuff isn't seeing the light of day. It's not only the fact that there are certain political views and narratives that are being pushed at certain times in a certain way. So they don't want other people who have so-called other ideas or fake news or conspiracy theories. They don't want those people. And the fact that I've just said those things probably will throw me at the bottom of the barrel. And that's why I need you to pass on my podcast to others. It's just the fact that it affects everything. And individual independent content creators are probably going to stop when they change the rules. They're moving the goalposts. Like I was talking about Spotify for podcasters. It's like, you'll have this podcast forever. You can do this and do that and do this. And then as soon as there's too many podcasts or their model has changed, then it's like, oh, sorry, we're not going to allow you to edit over here anymore. We're not going to allow you to fix your videos on here anymore. We want you to go over here to Riverside or whatever it is. Here, last two questions. Where am I? 30 minutes almost exactly. Here we go. Is there a place for AI in the creative process, or should it be limited to more administrative tasks? I think the administrative tasks are good to maybe help you to be more productive, but it shouldn't take on full control of your project. As I said, and maybe artists will probably feel different, but I mean, if I can only draw stick figures because I'm not artistically inclined, or if there's some way that I can hammer out a tune or some type of music by using my voice and it can give me the right keys, and I'm not a musician or I'm not musically inclined, and I can get some back music, because you can't really just use somebody's music, right? It'll be a copyright strike and your stuff won't get played or it'll get silenced. It's the same thing with art. You can't just grab people, what was it, NFTs? I can't remember what it was called. But the whole point is, you can't just grab somebody's art anymore because they can flag it for using their art now. So that becomes a problem. So the fact that AI can illustrate your ideas out of your mind and, for lack of a better term, kind of use the pen or the pencil to illustrate and color what your ideas are, I think it is a little different. But again, I guess somebody who actually sits there and draws and paints or does art or illustrates for hours or days or months on end, and then somebody just goes abracadabra and then their art's done, it probably will bother those people as well. It's just the fact of, my content is, in this case, all audio, so I don't need somebody else to create some art for me while I'm talking for these past 31 minutes, but I will use something to help me create my thumbnail in some sort of way, just so that it is at least pleasing to the eye, and hopefully, like you'll actually click on it. All right, last question. How important is the human element in the content you consume? For me, it's important. I think human connection, even when it is just watching a video, to know that somebody took the time out of their day and sat down and created the video or the podcast that you're listening to or whatever, and it's not just spat out at, in 30 seconds by AI, means something to me, because that means somebody spent their time. Somebody spent care. Somebody had an idea. Somebody had a feeling about something and they wanted to share it. And that's just where I stand on it. But guess I'm going to leave it to you guys. So that's all I got to say about that. Artificial voices, authentic concerns, the impact of AI on creativity. Anyhow, that's where I leave it. Take care. This is MCM, and you're listening to You're Probably Right. Take care.